The planet Zyphora had known peace for centuries. Its cities shone with light and life, and its people, led by Queen Lysera, had grown confident in their strength. Lysera was proud of her world, proud of her warriors, and proud of her civilization. But all of that changed the day the humans arrived. From the sky came streaks of light, fast and precise. Ships of unknown design cut through Zyphora's atmosphere with terrifying grace. The aliens' early warning systems barely had time to react. Explosions shook the ground, and villages that had never seen war before suddenly found themselves in flames. Lysera watched from her palace tower, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon. Her guards knelt silently behind her, expecting commands, expecting panic, but she stayed calm. Her mind raced with questions. Who were these intruders? Why did they come? Then she saw him, a human soldier stepping out of one of the smaller ships. He was alone, or so it seemed. His armor was heavy, but it moved with him as if it were part of his body. Every movement was careful, precise, and confident. His helmet reflected the firelight of the villages below, and his presence seemed to make the chaos pause for a moment. Lysera tilted her head, studying him. Her soldiers whispered among themselves. "He is only one said. "How can he stand against our forces?" But Lysera felt something different. She did not feel fear. She felt curiosity. And beneath that, something unfamiliar, a sense that this human was not ordinary. Jarek, the human soldier, moved through the battlefield like a storm contained. He did not run. He did not panic. He assessed, calculated, and acted. Alien drones and automated defenses fired at him, but he dodged with ease, his armor absorbing blows that would have killed an ordinary being. Yet it was not just his strength that impressed her, it was his decisions. Each move saved lives, each step minimized damage. Lysera's curiosity deepened. She had studied many warriors, many soldiers, but none like this. He was calm, focused, and yet there was something more. A kind of quiet determination she had never seen in a fighter before. Jarek reached the center of a village just as an alien drone aimed to destroy a shelter. With a single motion, he leapt forward, his armor shielding him, and smashed the drone with precise force. The shelter's walls shook but held. Families inside emerged slowly, wide-eyed but unharmed. Jarek did not pause to celebrate. He checked the civilians, making sure everyone was safe before moving on to the next threat. Lysera's guards stared at the scene. "He is remarkable," one whispered. "Yes," Lysera said softly, almost to herself. "But there is more. There is something human here that we do not understand." As the battle continued, Jarek found himself surrounded by enemy forces, ambushes set to trap him. Yet he moved as if he already knew the outcome. He used his environment cleverly, luring enemies into positions where their own weapons became dangerous to them. His strategy was not just strength, it was intelligence, adaptability, and an instinct for survival. Lysera felt her heart beat faster. She had commanded armies, led wars, and faced countless enemies. Yet she could not look away from him. He was fearless, but not reckless, brave, but careful, and somehow even kind. She had never seen a soldier save civilians in the middle of a war without expecting reward or glory. Hours passed, but it seemed like minutes to Lysera. Jarek continued to fight, moving village to village, saving lives, and defeating enemies that should have overwhelmed him. His armor bore scratches and dents, yet he pressed on. She realized that his strength was not only in his body, but in his spirit. He was human, and being human made him extraordinary. The battle reached its peak when Jarek faced the main force of Zyphora's defending army. Lysera had expected a simple clash. One side would retreat, one side would advance. But Jarek did something unusual. He did not attack blindly. He assessed, adjusted, and even protected some of the alien soldiers who had been trapped. Lysera's curiosity turned into fascination. She could not understand why he acted this way. Most creatures fought only for survival or power. Humans fought with purpose, yes, but also with conscience. It was confusing and inspiring all at once. As the sun began to set, the battlefield quieted. Jarek, still standing tall in his armor, looked over the ruins and survivors. He did not cheer. He did not celebrate. He simply ensured that the wounded received help and that civilians were safe. Then, quietly, he walked toward the horizon, ready to face the next challenge. Lysera remained in her tower, her eyes following him. She could not explain the tightness in her chest or the unusual feeling in her mind. She realized something that would change her forever. This human soldier was not just strong. He carried something far greater, a courage and compassion that even her entire army did not possess. Her guards looked at her for orders. "He is only one," they said. "We can defeat him. He is mortal." Lysera shook her head slowly. "No," she whispered. "This is not just about being mortal. This human, he is extraordinary, and we must watch him closely. The fate of Zephora may depend on understanding him." That night, Lysera could not sleep. She stood on the balcony of her palace, staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, the human soldier rested, unaware that his actions had already touched the heart of a queen. She did not know what would happen next, but she felt certain of one thing. Humans were not like any other creatures she had faced, and Captain Jarek was not like any soldier she had ever seen. And with that thought, Lysera knew that everything she had believed about war, strength, and leadership was about to change. The day after the battle, the planet Zephora was quiet. Villages still bore scars from the fight, but the people were alive. For most of them, the human soldier was a mysterious hero, someone who had appeared out of nowhere and saved them from destruction. Queen Lysera, however, could not forget him. She paced the halls of her palace, thinking of the soldier in his heavy armor. How could one being face so many dangers and remain so calm? She had studied many warriors, many leaders, but none had left such a mark on her mind. She decided to see him more closely, not as a queen commanding from a tower, but as someone who needed to understand him. Disguised in plain clothes, she traveled toward the edge of the city where humans had set up their temporary camp. She walked among her people, careful not to be recognized, and her heart beat faster with each step. Jarek's camp was busy. Humans were repairing their ships and equipment, and small groups worked to help the injured villagers. Yet, even among all the activity, Jarek moved differently. He did not rush. He did not shout. He moved calmly, checking on each task, guiding soldiers, and making sure civilians were safe. Lysera watched quietly from a distance, hidden behind crates and supply tents. He noticed a young alien child trapped under fallen debris, crying and scared. Without hesitation, Jarek lifted the heavy wood with ease, freeing the child. He did not ask for thanks. He simply smiled, wiped the dust from the child's face, and handed him back to his family. Lysera's chest tightened. She had seen bravery, yes, but never this combination of strength and care. Humans were supposed to be warriors, she had assumed, but Jarek seemed different. He fought, yes, but he also healed, protected, and inspired. Hours passed, and Jarek finally retreated to a small tent away from the crowd. Lysera followed quietly, keeping her distance. Inside, the soldier began repairing his armor. Tools clinked and sparks flew, but it was not long before he removed his helmet. For the first time, Lysera saw him truly. His hair was messy, streaked with dust from battle. His face was smeared with dirt and sweat, but his eyes were clear and bright. They carried determination, focus, and a deep kindness that struck her unexpectedly. He was no longer the untouchable figure in shining armor. He was human, real, fragile, and extraordinary all at once. Lysera blinked, caught off guard. She had never seen vulnerability paired with strength like this. She realized then that what she had admired from afar, the courage, the calm, the cleverness, was not only about his skills, it was about who he was, at his core. A human could endure hardship, care for others, and face danger with heart and mind combined. That was something her own people rarely did. Jarek leaned back, closing his eyes for a moment. He touched a small scar above his brow, a mark from the previous day's battle. Lysera wanted to reach out, to speak, but she held herself back. She did not want to scare him, and yet she could not stop watching. The sight of him, without armor, without barriers, left her feeling something she could not name. After a while, he adjusted his armor and prepared for the next mission. Lysera noticed his hands. The fingers that had handled weapons and tools so deftly were calloused, marked with tiny cuts. Every mark told a story of endurance and resilience. She realized that this was what humans were. They bore the signs of struggle, yet they kept moving forward, never giving up. As Jarek stepped outside, ready to lead his team again, Lysera followed, still unseen. He spoke quietly to his soldiers, not with orders, but with guidance. "Stay alert," he said. "Protect each other. Help anyone in need. We move as one." Lysera listened, heart tightening. These words were simple, but they carried weight. They were not about power or dominance. They were about trust, cooperation, and care. His leadership was not about fear or control. It was about respect. The humans began their work repairing bridges and shelters damaged in the battle. Jarek worked alongside them, lifting debris, securing walls, and guiding alien workers. Lysera could not help but notice the small acts that defined him. A hand extended to help someone up, a smile shared with a frightened child, a calm word to soothe a panicked worker. For hours, she observed, learning more than she ever could from spies or scouts. Humans were not only fighters, they were builders, healers, and problem solvers. They carried hope as easily as they carried weapons. And Jarek, he carried it naturally without effort. By evening, the work was nearly done. Villagers returned to their homes, and the human soldiers prepared for the night. Jarek removed his helmet again, sitting quietly under the stars. Lysera watched him, noticing how he closed his eyes briefly, allowing himself a moment of rest. Even heroes needed rest. Even heroes were human. For the first time, Lysera felt tears welling in her eyes. She could not explain why. It was not sadness, not joy, not fear. It was something deeper. Respect, admiration, gratitude. She had seen warriors before, but none had touched her in this way. Jarek's humanity, the mix of courage, care, and vulnerability, was unlike anything she had ever encountered. She whispered softly to herself, almost as if sharing a secret with the night sky. This human, he is extraordinary. He is not just strong. He carries something greater. As she turned to leave, careful not to reveal herself, Lysera realized that the world she had known, the world of armies, power, and strategy, was no longer enough. To understand humans, she would have to see more. She would have to step closer, even if it meant risking everything. The night was silent, save for the distant sounds of the human camp. Lysera returned to her palace, her mind racing. She could not forget the soldier who had fought and healed, who had saved lives without seeking glory, and who had shown her the heart of humanity. And somewhere, far from her watchful eyes, Jarek rested, unaware that a queen had already begun to see him as more than a soldier. She did not yet know what the future held, but one truth was clear. Humans were not just fighters. They were extraordinary. And Jarek, Captain Jarek, was the living proof. The sun rose over the battered villages of Zephora, painting the sky in shades of gold and orange. Smoke still lingered from the recent battle, and small fires burned where humans and aliens had clashed. Yet life was returning, slowly, because of the human soldier who had fought so tirelessly to protect it. Queen Lysra could not stop thinking about him. Captain Jarek, his name was simple, but it carried weight in her mind. She had seen his strength, his courage, and the depth of his care. And now, she wanted to know him, not from afar, but face to face. It was a risk. Lysra was the queen of her people, and humans were still technically strangers on Zephora. Any wrong move could spark conflict. Yet she felt compelled to approach him. She disguised herself again, but this time she carried no weapons, no guards. She needed him to see her as she truly was, not as a queen, but as someone seeking understanding. Jarek was at the edge of the village, helping a group of alien workers lift fallen debris. He moved easily, giving instructions calmly, correcting mistakes with gentle words. His leadership was not harsh, not demanding. It was measured, fair, and encouraging. Lysra stepped closer, her heart beating rapidly. She had observed him countless times, but being near him now made her feel a strange nervousness. Could humans sense deceit? Would he trust her at all? "Captain Jarek?" she called softly. Jarek paused mid-step, his eyes scanning the figure before him. He could sense caution, but no threat. His hand rested on a tool at his side, ready if needed, yet his stance was relaxed. "Yes," he replied, his voice steady but calm. I wish to speak with you," Lysra said, keeping her tone gentle. "I come with no threat." Only words. Jarek studied her for a moment. He had learned to judge creatures quickly in battle, but something about her did not feel like an enemy. She did not move like a warrior ready to attack. She spoke with honesty. Slowly, he nodded. "Then we speak," he said simply. They found a quiet corner, away from the work and the watchful eyes of others. Lysra studied him as he sat, removing his helmet again. She had seen him without it before, but now the moment felt different. There was no armor between them. Not just metal, but also barriers of expectation and distance. He was human, and she could see it in every line of his face, in the calm of his breathing, in the quiet strength of his hands. "I have watched you," Lysra said, choosing her words carefully, "in battle, in care for others. You are unlike any being I have ever seen. Why do you fight this way?" Jarek looked at her, considering. "I fight because it is the right thing to do," he said. "Not for glory, not for power. People need help. Innocent lives need protection. That is all." Lysra's eyes softened. His answer was simple, yet it carried wisdom and truth. She had expected complicated motives, strategies, or even lies. But humans were different. They could act with morality, even when the world was against them. "You risk your life for others," she said quietly. "Not because you must, but because you choose. That is remarkable." Jarek shrugged slightly, a humble gesture. "I do what anyone should do. Everyone has a choice. I just choose to act." Lysra nodded, her mind racing. She thought of her own armies, trained to follow orders and seek victory. She thought of herself, carrying the weight of a kingdom and the fear of failure. And now she realized something. Humans did not need fear or duty to act bravely. They acted because of their heart, their conscience, their understanding of right and wrong. "I wish my people could see this," Lysra said softly. "To understand what you are, what humans are." Jarek studied her face, noticing the emotion behind her words. "Maybe one day they will," he said. "But it takes time and trust." They spoke for hours, sharing thoughts about war, leadership, and the cost of choices. Lysra listened as Jarek described his people, not as conquerors or warriors, but as builders, thinkers, and friends. He spoke of hope, sacrifice, and loyalty, not as ideals, but as actions they lived every day. In turn, Lysera shared her own experiences, the burden of ruling a kingdom, and the challenge of protecting her people. Jarek listened without judgment, his eyes kind and understanding. She felt an unusual comfort in his presence. As the conversation continued, Lysera realized that humans were not only strong in body, but in spirit. They could endure hardship, face fear, and still act with compassion. Jarek's calm confidence, paired with care for others, left her amazed. She had seen warriors fight, but she had never seen someone fight and heal at the same time. A small alien child ran past them, laughing, chasing a toy. Jarek smiled and waved, and Lysera noticed the way his expression softened. He was not acting. This was natural to him. Compassion was part of who he was, just like courage. For the first time, Lysera felt that humans might be more than allies or enemies. They could be partners, friends, even teachers. And Jarek, this one soldier, was the living proof of what humans could be. The sun began to set, painting the sky in warm orange and pink hues. The village looked peaceful, almost serene. Lysera stood, feeling a mix of admiration and something deeper, an emotional connection she could not yet name. "You have opened my eyes, Captain Jarek," she said quietly. I have never met anyone like you. You are human, and yet more than a soldier. You carry hope, courage, and care, all at once." Jarek looked at her, his expression steady. "I am only one human," he said. "But if others see what we do today, maybe they can learn. Maybe they can be more than what they thought." Lysera nodded slowly. She knew he was right. One human soldier had already changed her perspective, and perhaps one day he could change the future of her people too. As they parted, Lysera returned to her palace, her heart full of thought and curiosity. She could not stop thinking about him, about his courage, his humanity, and the quiet power he carried without armor, without weapons, without expectation. And Jarek, walking back to his camp, did not know that he had already begun to bridge the gap between worlds. A queen had seen him, not as a stranger, not as an enemy, but as a human, a being of courage, kindness, and hope. That night, under the same stars they had both looked at from different places, the unspoken understanding between them grew. They did not yet speak of friendship, trust, or admiration in words, but their hearts understood. In a universe full of wars, power struggles, and uncertainty, something rare had begun, a connection between species, built on understanding, respect, and the extraordinary nature of one human soldier. And for Queen Lysera, it was only the beginning. The sky over Zyphora was dark with smoke and dust. The distant roar of engines and the flash of weapons painted the horizon in streaks of red and orange. A massive battle was underway, one that would decide the fate of both human and alien forces. Queen Lysera stood at the palace edge, her eyes fixed on the battlefield. She could feel the ground tremble beneath the march of her soldiers. Yet her attention was drawn to one figure, Captain Jarek. He moved through the chaos with precision, guiding both humans and aliens. His armor was scratched, dented, and stained from the ongoing fight, yet he remained calm and resolute. The enemy had formed a tight formation, threatening to crush both forces. Alien soldiers struggled under the pressure, while human soldiers coordinated carefully, holding positions and protecting civilians caught in the crossfire. Jarek's voice rose above the noise, not in anger, but in commands that carried clarity and trust. "Hold the line," he shouted. "Protect each other. We move together, or we fall alone." Lysera watched him and felt her chest tighten. She had seen him fight before, but never in a battle this immense. The courage he displayed was unlike anything she had witnessed in her own armies. It was not reckless bravery. It was careful, intelligent, and full of care for everyone around him. Then, the impossible happened. A massive enemy strike threatened to engulf a group of young alien recruits. They had no chance to escape. Jarek's instincts took over. Without hesitation, he dove into the fire of the enemy weapons, using his body and armor to shield the recruits. He fought with all his strength, redirecting attacks, and giving his soldiers the chance to regroup. Lysera's breath caught. She could not believe what she was seeing. The human soldier was risking everything, not for glory, not for recognition, but to protect life. And yet, he moved with calm efficiency, never panicking, never faltering. The battle raged for hours. Explosions shook the ground, fire consumed broken structures, and cries of the injured filled the air. And through it all, Jarek continued to fight, protect, and guide. Every movement carried purpose. Every decision saved lives. He was not just a soldier, he was a force of hope in the middle of chaos. Finally, as the enemy retreated, the battlefield fell silent. Smoke rose from scorched earth, and the survivors began to emerge, exhausted but alive. Jarek stood in the center, surrounded by those he had protected. His armor was battered, pieces of it scorched and dented. Yet he did not move to celebrate. Instead, he lowered his helmet slowly, revealing his face to all who had witnessed his actions. Queen Lysera, who had watched from the edge of the battle, could not hold back her tears. She saw the scratches on his face, the sweat and dust of battle, and the determination in his eyes. She had admired him from afar, but seeing him like this, vulnerable yet unyielding, overwhelmed her. Her soldiers noticed her emotion. "Your Majesty," one whispered. Lysera shook her head, unable to speak. Her focus was entirely on Jarek. She saw not just a soldier, but the embodiment of human courage, compassion, and resilience. This was what she had been searching for, the truth of humanity. Jarek took a moment to check on his own team, guiding them to tend to their wounds, helping them clean weapons, and ensuring that everyone, human or alien, was safe. He did not seek admiration or thanks. He acted because it was right. And in that moment, Lysera understood something profound. The strength of a human was not in armor, not in weapons, not even in numbers. It was in their heart, their mind, and their choices. Slowly, Lysera descended to the battlefield. Her guards followed at a distance, unsure why she moved forward, but obedient. She approached Jarek carefully, not wanting to disturb him, yet compelled to be near. Jarek noticed her, but did not react with surprise. He had seen leaders before, but something about her presence felt different. She did not approach as a ruler demanding respect. She approached as someone seeking truth. "Captain Jarek," she said softly, you have shown me what humans truly are." Jarek looked at her, sensing the emotion behind her words. "I only do what I can," he said humbly. "I am not special. Others could do the same." Lysera shook her head. "No, you are extraordinary. Not because of your armor, not because of your strength, but because of your heart. You carry courage, compassion, and hope all at once. I have never seen anything like it." Her words hung in the air. Jarek, used to commands and tactical discussions, felt something unfamiliar, a recognition of his humanity from a being as powerful as a queen. He did not know how to respond. Then, quietly, he did something he had not done before. He removed the rest of his armor piece by piece, showing the marks of countless battles, scratches, bruises, and scars. Each told a story of endurance, resilience, and sacrifice. He stood tall, not proud, not seeking admiration, but simply being himself. Lysera could not stop the tears anymore. They ran down her cheeks as she saw the truth laid bare before her. This human soldier, the one who had risked everything for others, who had led with wisdom and care, was vulnerable, yet stronger than any being she had ever known. Her guards watched silently, unsure whether to interfere, but Lysera did not move. She understood now that this was not just a moment between a queen and a soldier. It was a revelation. Humanity itself was revealed in one man's actions. For the first time, Lysera spoke words that carried the weight of her emotion. You have shown me that strength is not measured by weapons or armor, but by the courage to act, the will to protect, and the heart to care. Jarek nodded, still quiet. He did not need to speak more. Lysera's eyes, filled with tears and awe, said everything. Around them, survivors began to notice the human soldier without armor. Murmurs of respect and admiration spread. Aliens who had doubted humans now saw the truth. They were not just fighters. They were heroes in the purest sense of the word. Lysera stepped closer, wiping a tear from her cheek. "Captain Jarek," she whispered, "I cannot hold back my tears because I see what my people must learn. Humanity is extraordinary, and you are living proof." Jarek's expression softened. He did not expect this, but he understood. He had fought and protected, not for recognition, but to make a difference. And now he realized that one small act, one choice to act with courage and care, could inspire even a queen. The battlefield was quiet now, save for the soft wind and distant fires. But the impact of this moment would echo far beyond Zyphora. Lysera, seeing him without armor, understood the heart of humanity. And Jarek, standing tall despite exhaustion and injury, had shown her that true strength comes not from tools or weapons, but from the courage to be human. The battlefield was quiet now. Smoke drifted across the scarred land, and the first light of dawn broke through the clouds. The humans and aliens had fought together side by side, and the enemy had finally retreated. Zyphora was safe, for now, because of courage, strategy, and the will to protect. Queen Lysera walked among the survivors, her heart full. She had witnessed bravery, selflessness, and compassion in ways she had never imagined. But above all, she had seen Captain Jarek, standing without armor, without fear, and yet stronger than anyone she had known. Jarek moved through the village, helping injured soldiers, guiding civilians, and organizing cleanup efforts. He did not boast. He did not seek recognition. His focus was always on the people around him, on ensuring that everyone was safe and taken care of. Lysera followed him quietly, unsure if she should approach yet. She wanted to speak with him, to acknowledge his courage. But she also wanted to give him space. She had seen him in battle. She had seen him vulnerable. And now she saw him as a human being, a leader, a healer, and a protector. Finally, she stepped forward. Jarek turned his head, recognizing her presence. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. Words were unnecessary. Each of them understood the other through shared experience and respect. "You have done more than I could have imagined," Lysera said softly. "Not just in battle, but in how you treat others. You have shown my people what it truly means to be brave and what it truly means to be human." Jarek shook his head humbly. "I did what I could. Anyone could do the same if they choose to act. I just acted." Lysera smiled, tears still glistening in her eyes. "No, not anyone. Only you. And now, because of you, I see a future I never imagined. A future where humans and aliens can fight together, live together, and protect one another." Around them, the survivors began to notice the bond forming between the queen and the soldier. Whispers spread through the alien forces. "She speaks with him as an equal. He treats us all with respect. Humans are extraordinary." Lysera could feel the shift happening. Her people's hearts and minds were opening to something new, something hopeful. Jarek knelt to help an injured alien soldier to his feet. Lysera watched him and realized that this simple act helping without expectation, was more powerful than any weapon or strategy. Humans had a way of inspiring others through their choices, through their compassion, and through their courage. By midday, the villagers and soldiers had begun rebuilding. Bridges were repaired, shelters reconstructed, and fields cleared of debris. Jarek coordinated the efforts, teaching both humans and aliens how to work together efficiently. Lysera walked among them, offering guidance, but she allowed Jarek to lead. She understood now that leadership could be shared, and strength could be measured not by authority alone, but by the respect and trust one earned. As the sun reached its peak, Lysera finally approached Jarek. "Captain," she said, her voice steady but full of emotion, "I want to thank you, not as a queen, but as someone who has seen your heart. You have changed my view of humans. You have changed my view of courage, compassion, and leadership. You have changed me." Jarek looked at her and smiled gently. "I only did what I thought was right," he said. "But if my actions have inspired you, then I am grateful. I have learned as much from your people as you have from me." Lysera felt a warmth in her chest. For the first time, she did not feel the weight of responsibility as a ruler alone. She felt hope, a hope that humans and aliens could share their strengths, their knowledge, and their hearts. She realized that trust, once earned, could unite worlds in ways that battles and armies could not. The Queen extended her hand not in command, but in friendship. Jarek took it firmly, yet respectfully. In that moment, both species saw the possibility of a new era, a time when courage and compassion could bridge even the widest gaps between worlds. As the days passed, humans and aliens worked side by side. Jarek taught techniques for rebuilding, sharing not only strength but wisdom. Lysera oversaw her people, guiding them toward cooperation and understanding. Together, they began to restore Xiphora, not just physically, but emotionally and socially. The scars of battle remained, but so did the bonds that had formed in the midst of fire and fear. Lysera found herself spending more time with Jarek, learning from him, observing his actions, and sometimes simply listening. She had never imagined that a single human could teach her so much about courage, kindness, and patience. Yet through every choice he made, he revealed the truth of his species. Humans were not just fighters, they were builders of hope, bearers of light in dark times, and examples of strength intertwined with heart. One evening, as the sun set over the recovering villages, Lysera and Jarek stood side by side on a hill overlooking the land. She had tears in her eyes, but they were not of sorrow. They were tears of understanding, respect, and gratitude. "You have shown us the meaning of humanity," she said softly, "and I cannot thank you enough." Jarek looked at her, his expression calm. "I only did what anyone should do, but perhaps, together, we can show more people what it means to care, to protect, and to fight for what is right." Lysera nodded, feeling a quiet certainty in her heart. The war had ended, but a new journey was beginning, a journey of trust, cooperation, and friendship between humans and aliens. And at the center of it stood one human soldier, whose courage and compassion had changed the course of history. As night fell, the stars shone brightly over Xiphora. Lysera and Jarek stood together, silent for a moment, feeling the weight of what had been accomplished and the promise of what was to come. The future was uncertain, yes, but it was full of hope, and that hope was stronger than any weapon, any army, or any fear. And in that quiet, peaceful moment, Lysera realized that humanity was not defined by armor or battle, but by the courage to act with heart, and by the strength to protect life even when it is most dangerous. Captain Jarek had shown her that truth, and it would never be forgotten. The alien queen wiped her tears, looking at the human soldier with admiration. "Thank you, Jarek," she whispered. For everything? Jarek simply nodded, a quiet smile on his face. He had fought battles, saved lives, and shown courage. But in that moment, he understood something more profound. His actions had built a bridge between worlds. And that bridge would last far longer than any war. And so, a new era began on Zephora, one of trust, respect, and hope, led by a queen who had learned the strength of humanity and a soldier who had shown it with every choice he made.